Hi, my name is Blair and welcome to The Freed Perspective. In case you are new around here, on this channel we talk about spirituality, self-love, relationships, and psychedelics, and probably a few other things. I'm currently getting my master's in counseling and I just love sharing all things related to personal growth. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and liking the videos if they resonate. New relationships, situationships, and dating are a tricky time. People are bringing the best versions of themselves, and it takes a while to get to know the real person. People usually want to go with the flow and seem really casual, cool, flexible, calm, collected, because there's chemistry there and it feels really great. But when new people enter each other's lives, they each have their very own way of operating in the world and what they desire in a relationship. And until you get to really know each other, the nuances of each other's lives, what your love languages are, your values, there can be difficulty in the early stages. So it's important to learn the skills of how to be honest and direct with what you're wanting in a relationship, but doing it with kindness and maturity. And I will just say, from my opinion, like, any level of pretending is wasting your time and it ends up causing more pain down the road. So I just want to say, like, particularly for women, historically, they have had this fear of being afraid of seeming neurotic, controlling, or crazy if they express difficult emotions early on. And that's really coming from an out-of-date perspective that the woman should be more feminine and nurturing and going with the flow and understanding. But it really doesn't apply to modern times and modern dating. So I just want to challenge that way of thinking. You are in control of your mind, your heart, your body, and knowing what you really need and being able to communicate that. The key is giving yourself permission as a human being to express yourself and take a risk. Because love is risky. In dating and relationships, which is one of the most important aspects of our lives, we edit who we are because of wanting to be liked. And this is out of fear of rejection or being afraid of seeming that we're being difficult. But if you don't allow yourself to express fully, then you lose self-respect, which becomes way more detrimental to your overall mental health and quality of life than just being upfront. But we all have our own peculiar personality traits and, weird things that we have developed just from living our life, from experiences in different relationships. Are they always rational or positive? Absolutely not. But we all have them, and it's okay. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make you a bad person. And it doesn't mean you always have to express those things, especially if you're doing self-work and you're working through some of the triggers and limiting beliefs. I have done a lot of healing in my relationship arena, and I'm okay with things that flare up in me that may not be completely healed, or maybe it's my spidey sense going off. I'm okay with being able to express those things with with kindness and maturity. But all of this is why it's important to understand that you have your own shit that you see as, natural and balanced, and the other person will not see it that way, and vice versa. And that's why the direct and open communication is just so imperative. So how do we communicate directly and honestly? When you are able to express your inner workings to another person, it gives them knowledge about you and what you're thinking, and it gives you a starting place, because what people are mainly wanting to get to is some level of common ground. And you got to remember to welcome that same expression from the other person, and just know that it might trigger some things in you, or it might seem like unnatural or irrational. But if you want them to see that in you, you have to be willing to give that back to them. And hopefully you have someone that you're talking to who can navigate these conversations with you without shutting down. Inevitably, we will trigger each other. It's always going to happen. Friendships, work relationships, romantic relationships, it's going to happen. But it's up to you to have the courage, confidence, and wisdom about yourself to be able to articulate things that you know about yourself with clarity, and not just assume that the other person is being inconsiderate or dishonest or some other way that you don't like or approve of. At the beginning of a relationship or dating, we can have very weird behaviors, and that is prime fertile ground for making assumptions about the other person, especially when you don't have that long-term deeper connection yet. And this can potentially start leading to dating games. And I will just tell you, I have never liked dating games. I remember my mom, she said to me, Blair, you don't leave anything to the imagination. You leave no mystery in your dating. You just put it all out there. Because that is not the era which she was from. Like, they kind of played into those games. But I don't know about y'all, but I'm busy. One thing, it seems that time is speeding up on Earth. And number two, I'm just busy and I don't have time for that. And what I want back is direct, honest communication. So that's what I'm giving. And I'll say this, guess what? I am not in a committed partnership right now, but I just know that with my constant self-expression, I have maintained a level of self-love and self-respect that has given me this healthy feeling about myself, whether I am ghosted, have negative romantic experiences, or whatever's happening in my life, as I come back to really having the confidence to state who I am, keep doing that inner work. That's really the most important thing. What you come back to is the way that you feel about yourself, no matter what. So I want to share a story to illustrate a point about this. A few months ago, a friend of mine started seeing a man, and they went on trips together. They spent the night at each other's houses all the time. They both met each other's kids, and they saw each other for many months. Well, he told her fairly early on, it wasn't right at the beginning, that he did not want any kind of label on a relationship. That really hurt her and left her feeling confused. If they have this great connection and they're, kind of intertwining into each other's lives, like why would he not want to give her that label? She stayed in this place of limbo for months. And of course, I was hearing the other side of that, which was a lot of pain, insecurity, and confusion. So rather than just stating up front that she was looking for a committed long-term partnership, which is what she wanted, she played the game. And her reason is because she was afraid to look needy and she was afraid that she would push him away. In the meantime, she was ruminating on what he was thinking and just feeling super hurt the whole time. Obviously, it eventually ended because she started to act out. And she was acting out from a place of hurt and being triggered. So what I'm telling you is this all could have been avoided by saying, hey, I am really liking spending our time together and I look forward to getting to know you more. And I just want to express that I am looking for a committed long-term partner in my life. And I just wanted to know if you are also looking for a long-term committed partnership in your life, and just in general, if you're open to a relationship. Now that is direct and that is forward, and that scares the hell out of some people to be able to say that. But don't you think if you said that to somebody who is also looking for the same thing and not wanting to play games and excited about someone who is able to articulate that, if you said that and the other person wanted that too, they would feel utter relief and they would also say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. If you heard negative feedback, that would give you the knowledge that you need to know off the bat. Now, this statement does not mean you're trying to keep them or control them or have tabs on them or slap a label on the relationship too early. What it means is that you know what you're looking for and you can communicate that with clarity and maturity. Why would you waste your time with someone who is not in that space? And although this man did tell her part way through their situationship that he wasn't looking for a relationship, and in fact that he wasn't healed from a past relationship, she hung on to hope that she could woo him and win him over. But hope is the killer of reality. Point blank, don't put yourself in those situations, because you know what? We can have chemistry with a lot of people. I have come to find that, but it is those other deeper levels of the values and the foundations and the general compatibility in your lives. Just like that quote from Maya Angelou. She says, when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. And a lot of us just choose to ignore that. And then we ignore our own self-respect. So I'm going to share another example, which is from my own life. A lot of times in the beginning of dating, there is an issue with the frequency of communication. Who should text who? How often? How much should you give? How early on? And, we kind of play this pacing game because we don't want to, you're just getting to know someone and you don't want to seem overzealous or overbearing. When you feel like there is a good connection, you want to keep that momentum going and stoking the fire, which I believe is a really important part of connection. But in the beginning, when you're having these kind of paced interactions, it can make people feel insecure, and you can start to assume things about the other person that you have no idea is even true. So how do we start something new with direct and honest communication without feeling like we're sounding, neurotic or overbearing? So I'm back in the dating world, and I have met someone recently who I have a great connection with. And I'm practicing what I preach, which is stating what I want, that I'm looking for a long-term, real committed partner. And, specifically, I'm looking for someone who has flexibility in their life as far as where they want to live. And, just all my own personal things. I try to talk about the skeletons in my closet, my shortcomings, the things that are good about myself, and anything else that I have, conscious access to. So recently, I found myself sending more messages to this person and feeling like I wasn't getting the same amount back, and I was desiring more communication from him. And after a while, I felt like this was a pattern, so I decided that I was going to have a difficult conversation fairly early on in this connection. I also know about myself that I am not a needy person. I am, pretty autonomous in general. From my perspective and my side, I am feeling this amazing chemistry. And if he is open to it and comfortable and, receptive to what I'm saying, I would love there to be more stoking of this fire and this connection. And a side note is this is also a long distance situation. So that also requires a little more attention and focus and care, from my opinion, because I've already been in long distance relationships, and you have to be a little bit more focused. But just in general, like, even if it was someone that was here, like, I would support myself in being able to say that in a vulnerable, rational, kind way. I let him know that I was open to understanding whatever his point of view was going to be and his style of communication, which I haven't fully learned yet. It was scary for me to express that. It's a vulnerable thing, but it was important to me. And luckily, he was completely receptive. We had such a beautiful conversation, and he happens to also be a person that's super expressive, and it created more safety in this space that we're in currently. Just because you want something in a relationship, whether it's at the beginning or it's established, it does not make you needy or irrational. It makes you a human being with feelings. A human being who has the right to protect themselves, to understand their own inner workings, and be able to express that with people. So with this guy, he told me that he tends to be more paced, especially early on, and more relaxed. And so that was an interesting conversation because he let me know that he wasn't feeling a disconnect in our communication, and he felt like the momentum was going really well. And then he also let me know that I was completely safe to express that and that he would pay attention to that. And there are more details there, but it just, luckily it turned out really beautifully. Now I've had these other kind of conversations before, and it can make people shut down, which I think has to do more with them than you. Either way, my request to him did not make me a red flag or seem like an unstable person, but it did provide me with self-love, self-respect, which is very long-lasting, and it provided him with valuable knowledge on my preferences and communication. As you're learning each other's inner workings, it's okay for there to be discomfort when you're having to express things early on. There's going to be differences between you both. You've already led lives and perspectives that have evolved and come to this center point. And what I'm starting to find out with age and wisdom is that these differences can actually be beautiful. So for my own personal pattern in dating, I have dated many people who wanted to be just like me, and they weren't being true to themselves. And that ended up blowing up in everybody's face because eventually you relax into exactly who you are. Then it becomes hard to bring up like, hey, this is how I feel secretly on the inside. I have also molded to being a people pleaser, that's what it is, to other people. And then you don't speak up, and then you start to build up resentments within yourself. So it's just easier to be direct and honest and, just express with clarity early on in the relationship. Also, when you set this tone of being completely open and having this flow of conversation, it helps other people show up as themselves, and then it gives you better information to take in and decide if you want to be a part of this person's life, if they are compatible with you. Win-win-win. So if you tell someone, hey, I just wanted to let you know I felt this way when this thing happened, and then their ego flares up and they start, turning around on you and blaming you for something, or they just completely ghost you, then that really shows you a bigger picture of what you need to see. And it shows you that you can't be imperfect around them. And being perfect is a complete impossibility. Remember that. I always say, I don't expect a finished person because I am not a finished person. And I believe it is these relationships that we, go through these times and we grow. And man, I can't wait for when I have that solid next long-term committed partnership and to be able to go to those deeper levels of yourself. But when you show someone how you can be early on and it turns them off, because I actually had this recently. I've been back in the dating game, went out with a guy, and he showed me all the signs of being an avoidant attachment. If you're not familiar with attachment styles, please start learning. And I have zero room in my life for an avoidant attachment. And man, I tell you what, we had amazing chemistry. And so, like I said before, you can have chemistry with a lot of people. Start to put some beautiful boundaries around yourself and what you need, and start to talk about these deeper compatibility issues. So right from the start, set a tone of kindness, vulnerability, and directness with how you want to communicate and what you're looking for. It takes practice, but it's totally worth it because you are worth it, and you have to believe that about yourself. So anyway, thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please leave a comment below and tell me, how does this sit with you? When is a time that you have expressed freely and directly something that you have felt, particularly maybe early on in a relationship? And what was the feedback that you got? Was this person receptive, or did they totally shut down and show you exactly where they are in their own levels of understanding, compassion, and maturity? I would love to just know what people have experienced and what you've grown from, and what are your resolutions in the relationship space. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it, and subscribe for a high vibe. I'll never say that again. See y'all later. Bye.